Hello everybody, this is Catholic Dad video number 49, the proof of God's existence. Now, I'm not a great theologian, but I do like to think. But there has been great theologians in the past that have tried to prove the existence of God. One theologian that was particularly good at it was St. Thomas Aquinas, and he proved God's existence in 5 separate ways. Now, I don't have time in these short little videos to go through all 5 ways, but I can actually talk about 1 or 2. And then you can actually go Google Thomas Aquinas proofs of God's existence, and you can actually see all 5 proofs that he had. And so, and frankly, understanding and knowing the existence of God is just something about observing the natural world and realizing that we cannot be alone here for the natural world to exist. And the first proof of God's existence that you should think about is the first mover of things. Now, we, in our natural world, we are composed of matter. Matter is composed of atoms, right? And atoms are composed compounds. And so that we and the things around us in this world, like trees and berries and animals and dirt and soil and rocks, because they're composed of matter, they have mass. Now, if we look around the world and we see things moving, we have to look at the things that are moving and realize that things cannot move on their own because the laws of physics do not allow it. So for things to move, there has to be a force imparted upon them by something else. And so therefore, if something moves, it's because a force made it move. It pushed it. Now, where did that object that pushed it give it another force? Well, that was from some other thing that gave it another force, right? And so you can actually break this down, and you could say, like I'm moving right now, and you can actually break it down to the food that you eat, the atoms that you get, the sun that hit the plants that you ingest, or the animals that you ingest, and then you made the energy and you broke the carbon bonds and the ATP and so on and so forth. But eventually, no matter how smart you are, no matter how theologically or scientifically sound you are, you're going to reach a point where you're going to get to a point where something moved, but there's no initial force to it. And then you'll wonder, wait a minute, if we have motion in this world, what the heck set the first thing into motion? That's the first mover. And the first mover is what we know to be God. And think about that for a second, right? That should boggle the mind a little bit. The fact that we have motion, we know that God exists because something had to set all these dominoes into motion. And it can't just be a pile of junk or a happenstance. Everybody's like, hey, it was the Big Bang. Oh, well, can you think of anything more glorious and proof of God's existence than some ginormous explosion which creates the universe? I mean, yeah, okay, maybe that was the first mover of things, but where did that come from, right? And so there had to be some first mover before that. And that initial push, that initial shove, that initial movement of mass, that is God, and we know that to be God. And so there you go. That's the proof of God's existence. There's another one besides the initial mover called the uncaused cause. Now, everything in this world has a cause and effect. So like you give some water to a seed in dirt, that will create a plant. And so, and you give it some light too. And so, the cause and effect is the water and the dirt, the minerals in the dirt and the light, and that gives you a plant. That's the cause and effect. Well, where'd the minerals in the dirt come from? Well, the minerals in the dirt came from, the breakdown of the rock and the animals that died within the rock, and they deposited the carbon, the bacteria in the air, and so on and so forth. And that plus decomposition gave you the dirt and the minerals in the soil. Well, okay, so where did the rock come from? The rock came from the lava, and so there's a cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. And eventually you could break it down to the quark and the neutrino and the electron and the neutron, the proton. And you could break it down into the most simple of all elements, or the most simple of all composition of mass. And you're going to get to a point where you're at an effect, and I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how hard you can think about this. You could be funded by NASA, right? Or you could be funded by the Department of Health or the CDC. You could have trillions of dollars in research, or trillions of research dollars. Eventually, you're going to get to a cause, an effect, a cause that has no cause, the uncaused cause. Eventually, you'll get to the quark or the neutrino, and you'll be like, wait a minute, what caused that? Well, I don't know what caused that. Like, I can't get that far. And then even if you can go beyond the quark or the neutrino, you're going to find something else. And you go, well, what caused that? Well, the uncaused cause is what we know to be God. That there had to be an initial push, an initial mover. There had to be an initial cause to create a cause and effect. And so, well, those are two of Thomas Aquinas's proofs of God's existence. And really, I'll tell you, if you have an IQ over 90, 95 maybe, sit down and think about this, because, and it's not a challenge to you. It's actually something, it's fun to do, and it creates your mind, it matures your mind, it makes you smarter, and it actually makes you able to engage the world in a way other than the basic comforts of life, that you can actually go out there and form a reasonable argument and make people go, I never really thought about that. And so it gives you a level of sophistication that you wouldn't have had ordinarily. So God does exist, for sure. I can prove his existence just through thinking about it. And if you sit there and you pray and meditate over it long enough, you're going to realize there has to be a God, because honestly, something gave us the initial push. Something had to cause the initial cause and effect, and we can't even figure it out no matter how smart we are. So this is Catholic Dad signing off. If you like these videos, please like or subscribe, share with your friends, and God bless you and have a nice day.